Jason Minix, The Blitz.
It is The Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250, 94.5 FM. I'm Jason Minix, the inventor of Victory Polo Monday. One RJ Ochoa joins us now wearing a Cowboys polo because it's Victory Polo Monday because Cowboys won again last night. What is up, RJ?
How goes it, Jason? You're looking ravishing, if I do say so myself. Pledge looks debonair, not quite in the victory polo, but wearing the victory polo in spirit, of course. Jason, I'm surprised you're not still on that mountain in Tempe or wherever it was, but glad to have you back in the Lone Star State wearing a victory polo. The best kind of day that there is, honestly, during the fall and winter seasons.
You know, and the difference between you and I is I will wear a Cowboy shirt of some sort after every game, win or lose. I don't just save it for the good times. I'm not fair weather that way. Although
so there's nothing meaningful right. to your actions. I see. I understand.
Well, no, it's victory polo, or I support my team. It's just the Cowboy Monday day after game uniform that I have to wear.
I demand accountability. That's the difference between you and I. You're fine accepting the mediocrity. You would have been cool with Jason Garrett last night, trotting Cooper Rush out there and losing and saying, you know what, you tried. You didn't have Dak Prescott. But me, I need Mike McCarthy to send his backup down there and get the dub like he did to the Cowboys back in 2013 with Matt Flynn and broke all of our hearts.
I remember that like it was not yesterday. And you look at it, RJ, what I really appreciated about last night's game was they get the ball back, drive down the field. They overcome some odd penalties throughout the entire game, but they did not settle for a field goal. They didn't get into field goal range and say, all right, we're good. Let's take this to overtime. They kept pushing. And watching all the highlight shows, and I watched part of the game last night on Southwest Airlines flying back from Phoenix and got home in time to watch the entire second half in the living room. But watching last night, they were going to win, and you know, the bobbled catch by Amari Cooper and the touchdown catch are getting a lot of run. But I thought the play of the game was Zeke splitting two defenders on 3rd and 11 to convert a big third down. So we didn't have to go to overtime. You had a chance to have that pass into the end zone.
You know, I tweeted in the moment that might have been the best play of Zeke's career. A lot of people responded, obviously, the game winner against Pittsburgh, his rookie year, or even the screen pass earlier in that game. And that was definitely a great moment, and I'm fine if this moment loses out. But I think contextually, this one just it has a different weight to me. The fact that it was without Dak, the fact that the team needed a superstar play, the fact that he was able to pull that off. I don't want to take away anything you said because you're right. I mean, kudos to the Cowboys. I love that on 1st and goal, they went to the air. They didn't just say, okay, we got here down near the goal line. Let's run the ball a couple of times. In worst case scenario, we'll settle for the field goal. I loved the offensive disposition. They trusted Cooper Rush. But what I will say is that 3rd and 11 only happens because Mike Zimmer doesn't know the rules and calls back-to-back timeouts. If it's 3rd and 16, I don't know that conversion happens. Just to be fully honest here.
Although, how many yards did he get on that play? I mean, you know, it might have been close if
close.
The same scenario happens, but it's not just Zimmer didn't know the rules, but neither did the damn referee who granted him the timeout, which again, lots of things last night with officials that I didn't like, but you could tell where this team is. Amari Cooper, after the game, has the game-winning touchdown and then tells the media, hey, guys, I got a story to tell you.
I got a funny story for you. I might as well go ahead and tell it. I came back in the huddle. We were in, I think, double left, right? So that means I line up to the left, the short side of the field. CD wanted the ball really bad. So he told Coop, he was like, it's double right? Because that would put me on the right side and him on the left. And Coop was like, nah, it's double left, bro. And then CD was like, Coop, you want to let me get this? I said, hell no. I said, hell no. So that's how much pride I take in, wanting that ball in those pivotal moments, because I know I can go up and make the play.
And you think about the play he went up and made, and I appreciate everything that you're hearing there. I think CeeDee Lamb is trying to take advantage of Cooper Rush, and Amari Cooper was like, no, dude, this one's mine. I mean, they're competing for it, because I don't know that CD would say that to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott in the huddle calls a play, and you say, yes, sir, you break the huddle and go, right?
Yeah. I will say this kind of stuff only happens like the story when you win, right? Like, and when you're winning a lot, if this is a team that's, 3-4, 4-3 even, nobody hears this story. Like, think about this. This whole story comes from Amari Cooper, one of the most quiet people in sports. And the story is about his bravado and how he's declining the opportunity for CeeDee Lamb, who had a big play in that same corner of the end zone the last time the Cowboys visited the Vikings. Amari Cooper is a superstar. I think we continually undervalue and underrate him because he isn't flashy, he isn't loud, but he is so talented. Last night, some of the breaks went his way, and sometimes that's going to happen. But that catch was, tonight, on all the Monday Night Football Palooza, that is the ultimate you got mossed moment. And that's the thing. Amari Cooper can beat you a number of different ways. That was kind of like Dez Bryant's specialty, and that was the closest Amari Cooper's ever come to that as far as his time with the Cowboys.
RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com joining us here on the Blitz. And you think about Amari Cooper, very smart guy. When you get a chance to talk to Amari, you could tell he's different. Even CeeDee Lamb. And I think about CeeDee Lamb and the amount of fines he apparently has already been collecting. And Amari's like, dude, don't you like your money? Pull up your socks. Tuck in your shirt. You're giving away money. I'm surprised that the Cowboys don't have, somebody on that staff to make sure CeeDee Lamb is in line with the uniform police.
Maybe. I bet some guys just like their stuff. It's weird, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's some people, Jason, are willing to pay money to look a certain way. Some people are willing to pay more to only have drums or flats when they order wings. Like we all have our particulars when it comes to the things we like in different circumstances and different environments.
$46,000. Is that what he's paid right now? Or a third jersey violation will cost him $46,000, but he's already been fined almost $47,000 because of all of this. It just doesn't seem to make sense, and I don't know how the NFL comes up with those price points.
I don't either. I would be fascinated if there was like a legitimate formula. You know what I mean? Like 1x. Is Y, and if it's like 2 inches off or whatever, that adds something or whatever. But the NFL is, super down to microscopically look at CeeDee's uniform and how, it's in violation, but they don't seem to care about Harrison Smith putting him in a chokehold on the sideline there in the middle of this game. So, what's going on here? And that's like, that thing was like, you mentioned the questionable penalties, the late hit that Randy Gregory got called for. Look, if you're going to call that, fine, but then call Leighton Vander Esch for the same thing because he had a hit well after that. Like, just be consistent so that everybody knows what you're calling and how you're calling it.
Agree 100%. RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com with us here. We'll talk a lot about the Cowboys offense because, it was Cooper Rush, and Cooper Rush looked comfortable. He played better. I was so wrong. Now, granted, it was one game, and I think for one game he was ready. And he knows the offense extremely well, which is why they talked about wanting to bring him back. He got it done. He looked comfortable. But that defense last night, when do we start talking about how good this Dallas Cowboys defense actually is or might be? Because they got a win last night without getting the turnovers.
They did. Some of that, I think, I don't want to buy all the way in just because some of it is, and I'm higher on Kirk Cousins than most, but some of it is the ineptitude of the Vikings offense. I don't know why they didn't, push things harder against the opportunities were there and they just didn't want to. They were conservative from the jump. They got that 7-point lead early on. They thought that was going to be enough and they turtled up and tried to play prevent in every, capacity of the game. But this Cowboys defense, I think, it's opportunistic. Sometimes those opportunities come by way of turnovers. Sometimes they come by way of whoever your opponent is. And it was really impressive. The Vikings had 3 possessions where they had to travel 60 or less yards. They got 3 points out of them. The Cowboys defense stood up. A lot of those, the Cooper Rush turnovers that the Cowboys did a great job of not allowing big point swings off of them. And so that's really impressive. I think they're somewhere around the 10th, 15th best defense in the NFL on a given day. And that's what we've been asking for forever, right? Like we've said, in some way, shape, or form, if this team had just an average defense, they could be really good. And they have a pretty good defense, which is why they're performing a little bit higher than even our wildest expectations.
They certainly are. RJ, when you look at the injuries last night, I think probably the big news is Jabril Cox. He's become pretty important on special teams. He is done for the season, which is disappointing. But I haven't seen updates yet on Tyron Smith or Diggs, although Diggs was wearing 2 shoes when he left last night and wasn't limping. They said it was an ankle sprain, so you expect him to be able to go this week against Denver.
Yeah, I think everything's going to be okay with Trayvon Diggs, which is good to hear. Still unknown on Tyron, but, I mean, I don't mean to say, like, hey, I'm pumped if the Cowboys have to play without Tyron Smith, but they just managed the game without Dak Prescott. Like, this team has earned a high level of trust, a high level of currency in that sense, and they got Lyle Collins back last week. So they have depth, and that's why all these people who are saying the Cowboys need to trade away so-and-so, they need to trade away so-and-so. Dude, this is a league, this is a game where things can change in an instant. You have a lot of depth right now. Don't piss it away because you see the Rams trading for Von Miller or whatever the case may be.
Well, and again, though, I mean, now you kind of go, oh man, that Smith guy was pretty good. If we're now down a linebacker, what are we going to do? And I know they're getting a couple of people back, which will look like, you could look at them, however you want to, but they do have 3 guys that are going to return to the lineup relatively soon. But I thought it was weird last night when Tyron Smith was hurt. You got Ty and Secchi in there. You didn't just put Collins into the game. That surprised me by the Cowboys coaching staff.
I mean, I like on paper, I agree with you, but Mike McCarthy is a coach who likes continuity, and Lyle hasn't seen work at left tackle, like, ever. You know what I mean? And so, like, it makes sense, theoretically, but if Tyron can't play, I honestly think they'd put Lyle at right tackle, and Terrence Steele would be the guy to flip over, just because they like their continuity. Of the available options, Ty and Secchi's the only one who had work at left tackle this season. And so, you just got to make lemonade in that moment. But yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from.
When you look ahead this week, you mentioned the trade for Von Miller. He's going to the Los Angeles Rams as the trade deadline is tomorrow. And I'm with you. I don't expect the Cowboys to do anything splashy tomorrow, but it does feel like the Rams are saying we're going all in on our defense. And Von Miller is not the same player that he was. He's going to be good. And you put him with, Aaron Donald and the rest of that defense, he'll make an impact. But with no Von Miller this week, Cowboys play the Broncos. Do you give Dak another week to rest that calf?
I mean, I think you give Dak another week if Dak is still not 100%. You know what I mean? Like, if you're making the decision off of the Broncos trading away a player, then you're doing it wrong. But I get it. I mean, the Cowboys were 7-point favorites this morning before that news came. And so you have to imagine that might bump it up another point and a half. And so it's fair. And because I don't want to lose a game, but if you're going to lose a game, you want it to be to an AFC team. And so if this is the game where you stumble and you fall over, whatever the case may be, like, it's not the end of the world. You're piling up the wins that are going to be important when it comes to tiebreakers and things like that. That's why last night was so important. But if Dak's ready, I think you play him, and you trust in him, and you trust his decision making, and you trust his level of comfortability, and you get to 7-1, and you move on.
Well, and again, I think and some of it might depend on if Tyron Smith is able to play, but the Broncos defense got a little less scary with Von Miller saying bye-bye. And I just look, if it's a calf, and all week we didn't know, although I wasn't surprised that Cooper Rush got the start last night and Dak sat, but they took it up to seemingly the final minute they had to make a decision. He went through all his warm-ups, and, I'm on an airplane, but looking at, what was being tweeted and whatnot, I couldn't tell if he was starting or not based on, people that you trust in the media world that were saying, well, he's doing this, he's doing that, looks like he's going to play. Then obviously he didn't. I just wanted you to take another week, especially if Tyron Smith isn't able to go.
It's fair. I mean, and, I think Mike McCarthy will play it that way. He'll play it, to a point of, I don't know what we're going to do. And to be clear, I think that strategy, like that, the idea that that's a strategy that opposing coaches are thrown off by, man, who do we prepare for? Whatever. I think that idea is dumb, but it worked against Mike Zimmer, who said after the game that they prepared for Dak Prescott all week long and were kind of surprised and caught off guard. So I imagine that Mike McCarthy will keep it close to the vest. But if I had to bet one way or the other, I would probably suggest that Dak Prescott does play on Sunday.
I totally agree. RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com, our original Rock the Mic winner. We narrowed it down to our field of 12, although I just checked the website. I don't think the website's been updated with those 12 yet. Wednesday, we're going to be at Slackers. Thursday, we're going to be at Slackers. And, the voting process is about to get underway. RJ, you were the first guy to win Rock the Mic. I can't believe we've been doing this many years. For people that are now in the top 12, and they'll be announced at some point later today or maybe in the morning, we know who they are. What advice would you give to those 12, the dirty dozen?
I think you gotta talk to a lot of people from high school that you haven't in a while, and you gotta, I was really fortunate that I had started to kind of blog and into podcasts and had developed a little bit of a following at that time, and so I was really fortunate that those followers were kind enough to support me. But I think use social media. That's the power of the world and the era and the time and day and age that we live in. Use social media to ask for people to vote. Tell them why they should vote for you. I mean, those votes are important. It also obviously comes down to what you say and how you perform and how you impress the incredibly handsome judges. You got to be complimentary of them, of course. But I mean, use social media. That's my best advice. You don't be gimmicky. Don't be gimmicky and say, hey, free donuts or whatever to anybody who votes for me. Tell them why. You believe in yourself. You made it to the top 12. That's a really impressive accomplishment.
Over the next several weeks at all our spots, when we go by Slacker Sports and Arcade Bar, and there's a lot of them, and we invite those 12 on the air, and then when we get down to the Final Four and they go on the air with us, that seems to be where a lot of people lose it. Because honestly, we've been doing this now long enough to realize we might sit in a room and go, yeah, this guy probably wins, or she might win, or that, and they don't even come close. I mean, and you talk about the importance of social media. I know at least of two that I thought were going to win that had 0 votes on traction. They were really good. We got you to the top 12, but it's up to you to get into the top 4. But the on-air part is also pretty important. Any advice there?
I'd say to ask questions. That there's not a bad question. There's no stupid questions. Be certain, be positive. One of the mistakes I made because of the jerks that handle the Rock the Mic process, they gave me an ad to read. And they write everything out in a linear sense. And so it's AA best bail bonds, people. All right. It's AA best bail bonds. Don't mess it up like RJ did back in 2016, because he was met with a fiery storm of rage and got in a lot of trouble. Thankfully, it all worked out. But ask questions. There's not a bad one. There's not a dumb one. There's no way to go wrong. And don't try to beat anybody, with your take or your stance or whatever. Just believe in your thoughts and your opinions and your analysis. And at the end of the day, if you leave it all out there, I think, you could be proud of yourself. And if Jason doesn't see that, well, he's wrong, not you.
Well, and again, getting the reads right is important. Make sure you say the sponsors' names right. It tends to be important. It's Slacker Sports and Arcade Bar and Jim Beam, the great sponsors of Rock the Mic.
Yeah, I mean, and the beautiful thing about that is they change over time. Shout out to Slacker, Slackadoches. They've been doing this forever. I feel like I've been involved with Rock the Mic so often. I feel like some sort of jersey should be retired or hung in the rafters there with all the Spurs ones they have, just because, that place means a lot to me. I've got a photo of you, me, and Rob in my office from there. So if I've got something from them in my place of work, that street should go 2 ways.
I think you've left a pen in there or something. We'll retire that. There's a jersey. You're the OG. Wednesday night we'll be at the Slackers Medical Center location over there off of Fredericksburg Road, and then on Thursday we'll be at the Nacogdoches location. So Slackadoches on Thursday of this week. Next week, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to be out again as we willed it down for another Rock the Mic champion.
It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. We have a very special club. We have a very special entry. There's an entry fee, obviously. Can't tell anybody. There is a lot involved here. There's a ritual of sorts. We've really stepped things up. Michael Jimenez has really brought some new and debatable protocols to the Rock the Mic club, the prestigious club that it is. He's decorated the fraternity house that we have in some ways that, don't necessarily, fit my cup of tea, but, that's how Quattro tends to roll. So it is what it is. Thomas Mott has a Baylor banner hanging proudly after this past weekend, so we're putting up with that.
Yeah, well, we got to take that down. We don't want to talk about Baylor and coming back from double day. And he's working in Atlanta now, covering the Braves. I've been trying to get a hold of him to bring him on, but like the guy's busy covering the World Series for the enemy.
Yeah, I mean the nerf, you know what I mean? But that's what happens. You got to be versatile. You got to be willing to talk about a billion different things. Sometimes your career, your life sends you down the path of talking about the team that's going to blow a 3-1 lead in the World Series. That's what happened to Thomas Mott.
That's exactly what happened. And I think you just brought up something that I should mention. Every Rock the Mic champion is working in the media business today, on the air, doing something, including Michael Jimenez, who today started full-time with us at San Antonio Sports Star, hosting from noon to 2. You're running bloggingtheboys.com. Mott is in Atlanta. Tig is across the street. Quinn is on Sundays. Am I missing anybody? It was getting too many where, it's trying to remember all the names of all the kids. I think I got them all right.
We're a pack. We're a litter. You know what I mean? And so we fly high. We ball in. And so a hearty congratulations to Quattro for the official gig. Has put in his time. And so all he has to do is sleep on a couple couches in Oxnard and everything's official.
You did forget one.
Who?
Brandon Medina. You don't even have to win Rock the Mic to be in the radio business.
True, but I was talking about the champions that were all working. So I didn't forget a champion. There's a difference.
All love to Big Papi, but you get a championship ring, championship belt, championship sash, corsage, tiara. You know what I mean? And it's just the gear that comes with the gig. That's all it is.
That's all it is. The original Rock the Mic champion who has the ability to tell Jimenez he can't put that up in the house. You control everything because you were the original. You got the big room. You get the bed to yourself. You get it all. You control it all. You control the remote for the TV. So if Jimenez is trying to change some of your ritual stuff, you can put an end to that in a hurry.
Exactly. And because I control the remote, because I control the soundings, number one, I won't sleep with the television or volume on like a psychopath. And two, I will ask Pledge again to straighten out the sign behind him. It's been bothering me for the last 20 minutes. Pledge, get a level in that office. Jeez.
You know how many times we straighten that thing? I mean,
I feel off. I feel like I'm not calibrated properly, looking at it.
Just blame Greg Shelton. And again, until you get to a certain level, you can have the TV on at night as loud as you want. I'm just saying. I mean, you can control the Rock the Mic house, but somebody else still controls the TV when we're on the road. Just saying.
Again, it's a weird thing. That's all I'm saying. Fine, have your way, but I mean, it's a weird thing. Just admit it's a weird thing.
It's not a weird thing. I think it's perfectly normal. You're the strange one that wants to sleep when it's completely dark and quiet. That drives me nuts. It's impossible.
I'm sorry that I'm not afraid of the dark, but you are not the weirdest one because in Minnesota, when Rob Thompson fell asleep with the TV on, I tried to grab the remote from his hand while he was asleep, and he woke up and snatched it from me like he was some sort of night monster. So it was a terrifying experience.
Don't reach for a man's remote, man. I mean, you just can't, especially knowing Rob keeps that in his robe pocket, man. He must have been very uncomfortable with you searching for that remote. Although I'm going to guess, when little baby RJ shows up, you're going to start sleeping with the TV on because your quiet, peaceful nights are about to end.
Well, you know what? I'll find a way to be more efficient about it. Let's just say that. I won't be the guy that has C-SPAN on at 4 a.m. like Jason Minnick does sometimes, or old episodes of Ozark or something. I mean, you never know what it's going to be depending on the location and whether or not he has internet access.
It's never been C-SPAN. I can promise you that. RJ Ochoa, have a wonderful week, man. We'll talk to you next week after the Cowboys beat the Broncos.
Sounds good. Enjoy the midnight showing of Eternals with Pledge. I know you're going.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Marvel's Eternals. It's going to be incredible. We'll give away more Fandango codes in a bit.